Hi, my name's Lila Gaudrault. This is episode 299 of Cultra.
From the belly of the Beast Coast, Glastonbury, Connecticut, this is the Cultra Trail Running Podcast. We talk about all the fun shit that happens on the trails that most normal people don't care about. The language we use is fucking explicit and raw like the trails we run on, so don't listen with your kids! Cultra is brought to you by our Patreons and supporters, and we are 112% listener supported, and support is good.
All right. Well, welcome everybody to the Cultra Trail Running Podcast. I'm your host, Art Byram, and I am joined by members of the Cultra crew. We have Fred Marolo.
I'm here.
How you doing, Fred?
I'm doing great. What's not to love about life, right?
Good. You've been traveling around, right?
You kinda. Yeah. Well, I got back from the hottest place in the world and actually I was not at the hottest place in the world because I didn't go to Badwater.
I was going to say.
Did go to Vegas, but it was 118, so
Wow, it broke the elusive 112
it did.
degree barrier. So
it was more than 112 every day in Vegas.
That's something.
Sorry to say. I was hoping for 112 so I could send it to you.
And for all the Grateful Fred fans, what were you doing there?
I went to see a band. Just a little bit of music.
Playing in the band, huh?
It could have been Dead and Company playing in the Sphere. So maybe I did that.
Okay, good. And we have Celeste Fong, a ding dong.
Good morning.
How you doing?
I'm good. Little sleepy, but
okay. Good. Have you been recovering, or are you back at it, or what?
Oh, yeah. Training started again. I had to go for my shots today, and I had a reaction, so I had to take some Benadryl, so I'm a little bit out of it.
Okay. All right. So this will be like mile 60 or something like that, right?
More like mile 74. I'm going to go with.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. 74 is good, though. That's a breakthrough mile because then you only have a marathon to go.
Yeah, except that you have a marathon to go, so you're kind of like, fuck this shit.
Yeah. That is true.
A little bit. Yeah.
A little bit. Yeah.
All
but otherwise, I'm like, good. Just sleepy.
Good. All right. Also joining tonight, as introduced, we have Lila Gaudrault joining us again on Culture.
Hello.
So welcome, Lila.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, glad to have you back. So it's like, I feel like every week I should be calling you and saying, hey, you want to come on the show and talk about fill in the blank? Because
what did you do this weekend?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So just for and I probably should have brought up all the stuff that you've been doing, but I mean, just as a minimum, the last 2 weeks have been spectacular, right? You went to Notchview and just knocked it dead there with an overall win in the 12-hour, running over 72 miles, right?
Yeah, I think 72.2 was the official distance.
Excellent.
And that was like, what, 4 miles more than like the course record, or was it 6 miles more?
It was a lot more than 4 or 6, I think.
More.
I don't remember.
But it was really just a shakeout run for Vermont. Right?
Honestly.
Kind of warming up,
and,
get loose.
Yeah. Honestly, Notchview was like tougher than Vermont. It was just so hot. I felt so horrible all day.
Notchview is
Vermont
gross.
was like a walk in the park compared to Notchview.
Wow. Okay. All right. You're not the first person that I've heard say that at different times. I actually said that when I ran Vermont. After running the Cut 112, I didn't even need therapy after Vermont, right? So
Well, you might have needed it, but you didn't get it.
I mean,
okay, that's fair, Fred. I'll accept that.
I feel like anybody that does this kind of shit needs therapy.
Yes. So let's, Vermont is the current event, but let's just kind of talk a little bit about Notchview. Okay, so it was, from all accounts, a pretty exciting race. So maybe you could kind of tell us how it went for you. It was a 12-hour race with a an alleged, because I'm under protest on this, a 1.9 mile loop, and a hot, it was a very hot day, and it was, a week ago. So I guess, a week Yeah, a week and a half ago already almost. So how did that go for you?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like looking back, it went well, but in the moment, like from the minute it started, it didn't feel good. Like it just felt hard. And
Mm,
normally in longer races like that, like I'll have like good moments and bad moments, like highs and lows. And I feel like Notchview was just a lot more lows than I'm used to, which I feel like the all the hours just kind of blended together of just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I still have 8 hours to run. Can't believe I have 7 hours to run. Like this feels so
yeah.
hard. And then I had like a really low patch in the middle. Um, and then in the last like 10 or 12 miles or so, I kind of kicked it back into gear. But yeah,
Mm,
overall it was a hard day. Normally I like those shorter kind of loops, but
hmm.
it just wore on me throughout the day. Like it was tough,
Gotcha.
but it was fun. I mean, it's so fun to pass the same people again and again on the loops and just like have the support all day and have the frequent aid stations and know what to expect around the next corner. Um,
Yes.
so yeah, it was super fun overall. Would definitely do it again and hopefully feel better.
Yeah, yeah. So now your race started at it did start at 12, is that right?
No,
Or I'm
No,
7.
it started at
It's seven.
7.
Okay, yeah, because I was
Yeah.
saying that, but it didn't seem right to me. So it's seven. Okay, so it went 7 in the morning to 7 at night.
Yeah, a very like reasonable time frame, I feel like. I like
Yeah,
starting in the morning, finishing in the evening. No like
yeah.
midnight finishes.
So it wasn't even dark when you finished, right?
No.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Um, and so, but the sun did come up, and it got pretty hot during the day, right?
Yeah, yeah. I remember like standing around before the start and being like, wow, it's already hot out. Like it's gonna be a
Mm,
brutal day. Like normally you want to go into a race feeling a little cool and like, I don't know. This did not feel like that at all. It was just so brutally hot all day.
yeah,
And the air
yeah.
was heavy. It was just
Mm,
Yeah.
like almost like swimming. It was gross.
yeah.
For the record, though, every time we saw her, she was so sweet. Never once like complaining like the rest of us were.
Oh
She was
yeah,
just
but
Yeah.
you
like,
should have heard her interior voice, like what she was saying inside.
yeah,
Yes. Yeah. I was trying to, I guess, project like a happy, like this is easy kind of look, I
Mm,
guess. And I mean for some I don't want to make it sound like it was horrible the whole way. I definitely did have some like good patches, but not as many as I'm used to. But yeah, every time like someone cheered me on, I tried to like smile and be friendly. I definitely was not responding by the end of the day, but yeah,
gotcha.
tried my best to put on a smile.
Yeah. So is that a like there were people have different personas as they run and as they race. Is would you say that is, I mean, is that just kind of how you are in life in general, would you say, or is it more, do you kind of lean into that a little bit as you're running, or when you're running?
Yeah, I guess it depends. I try to be like as smiley and happy as possible.
Hmm.
But when I'm really starting to feel it, I think I just get a little bit quiet. Maybe a little bit grumpy, but mostly just quiet. I feel
Yeah.
like I don't know. I feel like I haven't done enough super long races to really like
Mm,
have that personality come out. So I don't know if I was running all through the night, like what would happen, but
sure, sure.
to
So
be
let's
determined, I guess.
let's talk about that. So if what was this when you did Notchview, was that your distance, was that the longest you had ever run, or
Well,
have
Notchview
you
was the
been?
third 12-hour I had run. And
Oh, okay.
before then, so I did 3 days at the fair
Oh,
in
that's right. Yes.
May, and
Mhm.
I ran like a couple miles longer there. It's a lot like flatter and faster of a course. So it was like, yeah, it tied for the longest time that I had run, but wasn't the longest distance, but pretty close to it.
Yes, yes. So at now, what kind of day did you have it? 3 days at the fair. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a pretty good day there.
Hmm.
Again, like couple more lows than I'm used to, but I had like a really strong last like 2 hours. Like I was
Mm.
running like 8:30 miles for the last couple miles and after like throwing down like 11, 12 minutes in the middle of the day, I just like they told me I could get the course record if I sped up. So I'm like I got to do it and So I felt really good at the end of the day, felt really great at the beginning, but then had like a low patch in the middle. So yeah, it was another
Gotcha.
day of just like highs and lows, which I feel like is the way it is for a lot of these long races. Like you
Mm,
have those low moments, but they don't always stay that way.
Did
yes.
you
And
get the course record?
I got it by 1 mile. Yeah.
Sweet.
I was not on pace for a while, but then I was able to kick it into gear for the last like hour.
wow. And
Nice.
that is it's not like that's not a tested course, right? So a lot of people have run that. And do you recall who the former record holder was on that by any chance, or no?
I don't remember.
Hmm.
I don't think the 12 hour there is quite as popular as like the
I
48 hour or some of the longer stuff.
sure.
So
Hmm.
I mean, I was happy to get the record, but I think there are like, I'd love to go back there and try some other distances and see how I do at
Yeah,
those. But yeah,
yeah,
the 12 hour was a good like starting point, I feel like.
yeah. It is. That's a good. I would agree with you that probably the 24 or the some of the other distances there might be, a little the bar might be a little bit higher on those, but still,
Mhm.
how many miles was that in 12?
It was
Chris?
officially 74.
74. Wow. And
Can
but
you
then you
imagine what
came.
she could do in 24 hours on a course like that?
Well, actually, they have 3 days at the fair has an event in the fall on the same course. It's called like
Mhm.
a 1 day festival. And my
Yes.
tentative plan is to do the 24 hour there. It's in like early October. So want to see what I can do in 24
Yeah.
hours.
Oh, very good. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
I did that in that's one of my 112-mile results.
Oh, cool.
There. So that's which I'm sure you'll probably pass rather quickly. So or not rather quickly, but it's still yeah, that's so that would be fun to watch you do that. So but that's even more impressive than if you think about a Notchview effort of 72 compared to a 74 at the 1 day. That just puts it in even more perspective on how much. I mean, because 1 day is I mean, excuse me, the Notchview is so much more difficult than
Yeah.
than that, unless you had a blistering day or a headwind or something really unusual at the fairground. So
Yeah.
congratulations on that. I mean, that's
Yeah. Thank you. It was,
that's
yeah, I guess a better day than 3 days at the fair, even though it didn't feel like that.
yeah, gotcha.
But
Well,
it
there's
doesn't
also
have to feel good for it to still be a good day. That's what I try to tell myself when I'm feeling awful. Like you can still have a good performance, even if you're just slogging it out.
yeah, I would agree with that too. I think that a lot of the marathon PRs that I had didn't feel good until just at the like towards the end. Like I ran 20 miles thinking it's just not my day, but I'm just hanging in there and see what happens. So you said that you did one other 12-hour. How did that go, and where was that?
It was so I ran that race in March. It was called the Fit Rock 12 hour. It was in oh gosh, I'm gonna forget the name of the town, but it was in Rhode
Mm-hmm.
Island,
Oh,
like right
okay.
over the Massachusetts border. So
Mm-hmm.
that was a 5 mile trail loop. It had like 350 feet of elevation. So kind of moderately hilly, kind of like
Mm-hmm.
Notchview, a little bit more technical, like some rooty sections. And I ran, you only full loops counted, and it was 5 miles. So it was a little bit more like challenging to get in the loops. But you could
Yes.
start your last loop. You had until 12 hours to start your last loop. So you could theoretically start your last loop at 11:59 on the clock. And
Yes.
however slow you did that loop, it would still count.
Mm.
So I think I did officially 70 miles there in 12:09, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But my watch had it as closer to 73. So it ended up being like a similar pace to Notchview, I think.
Okay. Huh.
Yes, that was my first time running 12 hours.
Yeah, the timed races with loops are always a math challenge, and I don't know if you
Yeah.
found yourself. Did you find yourself doing that at any of your three races, where at a certain amount of time out, maybe sometimes 3 hours out or more, you're starting to do the math to figure out how many loops you might be able to get in?
Oh, absolutely. At 3 days at the fair with like I think it was like 4 hours to go. I was like pulling my phone out of my vest. I was like, what's the course record here? I got to see if I have enough time to run it. And I
Mm.
realized I needed like 21 more miles. I'm like, I don't know if I can do that. And then yeah, at that first race in March, I was definitely like, yeah, calculating, and same with Notchview. I thought I was only going to do like the 70.1 miles or whatever instead of the 72. And then I realized I had like just enough time, and I really didn't want to. Like someone said, just your last loop on my second to last. And I'm like, I really hope so. I don't want to do another one. But then I went through the start finish and they're like, go, you've got 24 minutes. Like, you got it. And I'm like, oh, I guess so.
That is the best worst feeling there is in racing, is knowing that you have enough time, or that you might just have enough time.
It is. It's like you have to run faster to get it, and it's like the last thing you want to do is run faster.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, 70 miles would still be solid. Like, there's no reason I have to do this last loop. And they're like, get out there. Like, I was filling up my bottle at the aid station. They're like, get moving.
Yeah. Like, now at Notchview, now you had some because you said that you hit a low point in the middle, right? So in the beginning, you were lapping all the runners, and the second place runner, I believe you lapped him twice. Is that right?
Yeah. So I think I was 2 laps ahead of him at some point, and then he passed me once, and then he passed me again. And I'm like, the second time he passed me, I'm like, well, if he passes me again, we're going to be on the same lap. And at that point, there were like probably 2 hours left to run. So that's when I started running again at like mile 60, because I had been like power walking for a couple miles and was just not feeling good, was ready to just walk it in. And yeah, I kicked it into gear more for the last 10 miles. So I think it a lot of times just takes another person to really like get you back in the right headspace and realizing that your legs can still run. It's just your mind that doesn't want to go through that discomfort again.
Yes. Yeah. That is always, there's nothing like, like some competition or a friendly face sometimes to get you running when things are not going well.
Definitely. Somebody
all of a sudden calling out your name or cheering you on. It's amazing how many times that can just get you back and, get you going again. So
yeah, well, every time I saw you guys out there, I thought I have to run, because if I walk and I look slow, they're gonna like make fun of me on the podcast. And we running so strong for so many hours, and then she just totally died. So I'm like, every time I see Art or Celeste, I have to run, make it look like I'm having a great time.
I might have threatened a couple people that we would talk shit, but
Yeah, we would have most especially Lila, she impressed us for half the race. I mean,
exactly.
She's doing really well. And then it was like embarrassing.
Right. Did a really good 6 hour. Right.
Yeah.
12-hour race. Oh. Yeah.
Oh, that is awesome. So so Durgesh, so Durgesh Mankikar, I apologize because I'm on brand messing up names here. So he was your next closest competition, and he ran 68.4. So he was moving as well.
He's awesome. He got the men's course record, I think.
Yes, he did. I looked.
He was a lot more consistent than me all day.
The course record,
steady pace.
Yeah, the course record. I looked back. I think it was 66.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, so he set the men's course record at 68, but you were just like, oh, let me show you how it's done.
There you go.
Yeah, Ellie Bell.
Yeah, Ellie Bell.
Very good. Yeah.
But while we're here, by the way, I should mention that Lila got 74 at the fair and broke a record that from 2016, which was Sarah Deacon, and Michelle, which is 73. Michelle Mariotti did 71. The men's record in 12 hours at the fair is 84 by Mark Manns from 2012. That dude passed me, I think, 48 times.
Holy shit.
I was on the course, just lapped me that many times.
Wow.
That's how Notchview felt with Lila. She was just like, zoom, zoom, zoom. And I'm like, okay.
It did.
And here she is again, right? Yeah.
At times.
Miles, though. That's crazy.
Yeah. Jeez. So, all right. So congratulations on Notchview. I mean, that was so much fun. I mean, it was one common thread. I think you were probably the unifying experience for a lot of people because like everybody else had definitely one thing in common. Yep, Lila passed by me, and and I felt better when she did that. So
Maybe
that's
we need
pretty.
to make T-shirts then, right? Lila passed me and I felt better.
That's right. Yes. Very good. So then, um, okay, so that's one weekend, right? And
Mhm.
then the next weekend, so that was on the 12th or the 13th.
13th,
13th.
I think. I don't
Yeah,
remember.
13th. Yes. On the 13th. And then the next weekend, you're out and you have the Vermont 100. So how did you feel after Notchview? How were your legs after that effort?
I mean, right after I finished, I was like, wow, I can't believe I have to run 100 miles in less than a week. Like, this is crazy. I feel
Mm,
awful.
hmm.
But then, got a good night's sleep, took the next day off, did some jogging, and I do like pretty high mileage normally. So I took a really
Hmm.
low mileage week and my legs were like, wow, this never happens. So it was just a couple days of like single digit miles was like all I needed to start feeling really good.
Gotcha.
So I felt totally rested going into Vermont.
Oh,
But
good,
I mean,
good.
maybe I don't know, the 72 miles did something and I could have done better without it, but it didn't really feel that way. I felt like rested and everything.
Yeah, yeah. Did so now have you done that before? Done races within close proximity,
Yeah,
and how did it turn out?
I feel like this year since like April or so, I've been doing an ultra like at least every other weekend, if not every weekend.
Yeah.
Which I mean, that's not sustainable all year round, but there's just so many races that I want to do this time of
Mm,
year that I'm like, oh, another 50K or another 100K. Like, I want to do that. So I've been racing pretty consistently. And I feel like I do the best when I'm doing that. Like, when I don't race for 3 weeks or something, I get like out of the rhythm of it. So even if
okay.
I'm not able to give 100% at every race, it's like, I feel like the trade-off is worth it because I have so much fun at the events.
Yeah, that's kind of like a Mike Wardian approach, really, just to go and, stay in, a lot of people train through the races and things like that. So
Mhm.
that's great because I mean, what's going to get you in better shape than a race, right?
Yeah, and I
In a
try to
lot of
take
cases.
not like take any race like too seriously. It's not like one race is like the be all end all, and I feel like
Mm,
it's
hmm.
almost like a defense mechanism. Like, oh, this race doesn't matter because I just have another race next weekend. Like, who cares? And it kind of
Gotcha.
helps, I guess, get the nerves down a little bit and just kind of have more fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Vermont. So you ran a Vermont 100. Had you had that on your radar for a while, or what made you decide to run Vermont?
Yeah, I've had Vermont on my radar like for years. I think ever
Mm,
since I heard that people ran 100 miles, I like Vermont was one of the first races I heard of, and I'm like, that's the one I'm gonna do. Like that sounds amazing. And I just said how I never put like too much stock into one race. Like I've been thinking about Vermont for months and months. I had it on my calendar. I knew it was gonna be like one of my first, if not my first 100 miler. And yeah, so I was just so excited going into it.
very good, very good. Um, and how did the week going up? You felt like you got plenty of rest and everything, and the final preparation. Was it now? Did you stay over there that night,
Yeah,
or
I went
did
up
you
on
camp or?
Friday and
Uh-huh.
I just camped out there. That's what most people do because it's kind of in the middle of
Yeah.
nowhere. So there's no like hotels nearby and it
Hmm.
starts at 4 a.m. So you don't really want to be like driving on the back roads at like 2 a.m. or whatever to the start.
Yeah.
So yeah, just camped out there the day before and yeah, I felt pretty rested. I mean, I had kind of a busy week. I was just working most days, like on my feet a
Hmm.
lot, but
Hmm.
I feel like that almost helped me get my mind off of it. So.
Gotcha. So what do you do? What do you do for a living?
Well, I'm a nursing student right now, but I'm on
Hmm.
summer vacation. So I work part-time at a running store and then part-time at like an adult daycare for people with dementia.
Oh, okay.
So
That's
yeah,
good.
kind of
Good
split my
practice
time
for
there.
ultras, right? So,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah. That's great. Yeah. So, interesting. So, Yeah. Did you have any problems? And I mean, I know it's a short night because it's not only that it starts at 4, but you have to check in before, right? You have
Mhm.
to go and check in. And are you used to camping, or is that something you do often or not so much, or how did that go?
I'm very used to camping. I usually
Mhm.
just like sleep in the back of my car. That's what I do before a lot of races, and
Yeah.
I get some of my best night's sleep. So I don't need like a like comfortable hotel bed or whatever. So yeah, I felt great heading into it. It was just such a cool event. Like it was everyone like camped out there. We had like the
Mm.
whole pre-race meeting. I'd never done a race where they had a pre-race meeting the day before. It was a very cool vibe. They had a
Yes.
pre-race dinner. It just felt like a big party. And there were horses too, so that was really fun.
Yeah.
The campsite was beautiful. You could see all the mountains. There was like a little pond. So I was just really excited to be there. I wasn't nervous at all. I got a great night's sleep. I woke up at like 2:15 and I felt very rested and just like ready to go.
Oh, very good. I have to tell you that I agree with you about the vibe there. And um, when I ran it in 2018, I think, I we sat around. A bunch of us sat around and we're talking about the Cut 112. A group of us had not been together since we completed that. So there were, I think, like 3 or 4 of us who had run that, plus some other friends, and we just got to um, kind of relive the Cut 112. And I had so much fun doing that I was like, I got to do this again. This is what I want to bottle, and that's kind of what we try to do with the podcast. And that was really the vibe that we try to recreate, is that campsite sitting around talking there. So um,
I
yeah,
love
so
that. And that's exactly the vibe I feel when I listen to this podcast. Like it makes me laugh, feel like I'm just like chatting with you guys,
oh, good,
even though
good.
I've only met you like once.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
love it. And yeah, can totally relate. It feels like the vibe at the start of the race. Just
gotcha.
a lot of old
I don't know
friends.
if you know this, but we kind of adopted you. So,
Yeah,
or I did.
Oh, okay.
So,
I'll
we've
take
met
it.
you. We've actually met you hundreds of times as you pass us all the time. So um,
yeah.
And
awesome.
next month we're coming out with merch with your picture on it because
That's right.
adopted you, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So let's get you to the starting line, right? So it's early in the morning, it's cool, and it's getting ready to start. Um, how did you have did you go into this with like a decided plan, like I'm going to take it easy and then go, or are you just running in the moment, or what? How did you approach the whole thing?
Yeah, I never really have a super concrete plan, but I had like a rough idea of what I wanted to do. Because
Hmm.
I feel like in these long races, like the best laid plans just go out the window as soon as like something goes wrong. So I never want to set anything in stone, but I knew it was cool. Like you mentioned, the humidity was
Mm,
very low. It was like I was wearing a sweatshirt and I was chilly. I'm like, this hasn't happened in weeks, so I'm gonna take
yeah.
full advantage of this, get a couple
Mm,
like faster few miles out of the way early on, just see how I feel. Like I want to stay relaxed, but I want to feel like I'm moving well and just do that until I hit a low patch, which I know that I will, and just try to ride that out as best I can, like trying to, eat and drink as much as I can and
hmm.
just know that the lows will pass because they always do. Um, so that was kind of my rough plan for the day. I didn't have like a crew or pacers or anything, so I didn't have a nutrition plan. I use a lot of the like Untapped like waffles and gels, so I had those in my pack, and then once I
Hmm.
ran out of those, I was just gonna have whatever they had at aid stations. And yeah, that was kind of, I had a headlamp in my bag. I was hoping I wouldn't have to use it. I did at the end of the day. And I
Okay.
had to use it for like the first hour, but that was as far as I got in my planning.
Gotcha. Wow. Okay. So as you're, so I noticed that all of the runners, so you finished seventh overall in the race. Looks like sixth or seventh. I guess I want to kind of talk about that a little bit. And then, but you were the first finisher who was a solo runner. Like everybody ahead of you had a crew. Um, how did the idea of crewing yourself work out? Do you think that um, that something might have helped? Like, do you think having a crew might have helped at any point, or what do you think about that?
Yeah, I feel like having a crew wouldn't have helped all that much. I feel like I'm
Hmm.
used to doing a lot of races solo, and I just always feel bad about asking people to crew or pace me. I haven't done it
Mm,
much before, and I'm always like, oh, I don't want to make them give up this time for me, especially when there's so many aid stations on the course. I just want to do it myself. I think the
yeah.
one place where it really would have come in handy is like I saw like an Instagram video of like the first woman like at an aid station, like her crew was like giving her an ice vest and like hosing her down and like cooling her off and everything. And I was like, that would have been nice because it did get hot during the day. I think like cooling would have helped me a lot. But
Hmm.
other than that, I mean, I'm really quick at aid stations. I just fill up my bottles and go.
Hmm.
And I run by myself anyways. Sometimes like I get a little bit like annoyed when people run too close to me. Like even in a race, I'm like, I just want to be by myself, like in my own head.
Yeah.
So I don't think a pacer is like the direction I take in a lot of like races or running.
Yeah. No,
I
I
think going
absolutely,
solo was, yeah, the right
I
thing.
think, there's a lot. Yeah. I think a lot of people, would agree with that. There's certainly sometimes we feel it's almost like having, I don't know, like sometimes when you have something, you feel like you have to use it, you know.
Mhm.
So if you have a crew, I mean, a crew can definitely help you, but a crew can also mentally mess with you. Like sometimes you feel like I not, some people feel obligated to spend more time with them or like check in with them, and then they have to like talk to them instead of just like, sometimes that's not a good thing for people. Like you can walk into an aid, you can run into an aid station and know what you need and just get it, where you don't
Right.
have to verbalize it. And sometimes
Mhm.
verbalizing it, for me at least, is much more
Yeah.
difficult.
And I mean, like, even at the aid stations, like, the volunteers were so wonderful all day. As soon as I got to the aid stations, they'd be like, let me take your bottle. What do you need? What do you need? And I'd be like, nope, let me do it. Let me do it. Like, I just
Yeah,
like to do everything myself, get it done.
sure. Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I feel like that's kind of more my style. Maybe in a
Okay.
future year, if I was really going to be serious about like going for a faster time or the win or something, I would
Hmm.
have like a crew like just for cooling and like maybe a pacer in the last 10 miles or something. But
Mm.
I mean, this year for my first go at it, I think what I did worked out fine.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, I would say so. So let take us through to the covered bridge, right? I forget what mile that is, but you kind of come
Yeah.
down. You know where I'm talking about?
There are a couple covered bridges. I think the first
Yes.
one was around like 15 miles or so. I would
Yeah.
say that section, like the first section, just really flew by. Like I was kind of, there was a group of three that went out pretty fast, two
Hmm.
guys and one woman. And I was a little bit worried. I hadn't looked at the start list, so I didn't know who was running, but I was even early in the race, I'm like, I like to lead, even if it means going out like a little bit stupid fast. I was like, I
Hmm.
want to be in the lead right now, but if I was to pass her, I'd be running too hard. So I was just focused on keeping that lead group in my sight and running like relaxed. So
Mm.
yeah, getting to the covered bridge, I feel like it was just like snap of the fingers, like the gun went off and then I was there. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
but yeah, just a lot of, it was still dark. It was very cool. I was just
Hmm.
feeling great. I was super excited. Um, yeah, it was all good. No complaints there.
Gotcha. Now, they also have horses on the course. Did you see any of the horses on the course, or were
I
they?
didn't. No, I
You
think they have
didn't.
different start times. Some
Yeah.
of the runners who finished behind me who were running for like most of the night said they saw horses overnight. So I don't know if they started later and kept going for longer or whatever, but I didn't see any out there,
Gotcha. I
which was a
think you
little
were.
disappointing. I was hoping to.
Yeah, you were
You were too
probably ahead of
fast.
them. Yeah.
Yeah, you were ahead of them the whole time. They start a little later and then they go faster, but then they have mandatory stops.
Mm.
So
Yeah. Yep. I
a
saw
lot
their
of times
stops
a horse
along
can
the
pass you and
way.
same horse will pass you again. Yeah.
Yeah. I was always getting passed by the horses, which was always kind of fun. So, um, all right. So then, so you saw the lead group in front, and how did maybe you could kind of take us through to halfway? Like, how did it go the
Yeah.
first through that first half?
So after the covered bridge, there was an aid station right after that, if I'm remembering correctly. And the first woman stopped, filled up her bottles. I still had plenty of water and everything, so I just kept going. And
Hmm.
that turned out to be the last I saw of her. I think she ended up dropping out. And I also passed another guy. So then I was in second overall. There was one guy ahead of me, and he
Hmm.
got up the road pretty quickly. And I didn't see him after that. So
Hmm.
I was like, all right, this is great. I'm in second. I was feeling good. It was still cool. Um, and then when I got to about mile 33 or so, I was still feeling great. I was all by myself, running pretty fast. I think I looked at my watch and I was 33.33 miles. I was at like 4:56. I'm like, wow, I'm on sub 15-hour pace. I know this isn't gonna last, but it's nice while it's happening now.
Sure. Yeah.
And then I got to the aid station about mile 34 and they're like, you're in first overall. And I'm like, wait, no, there's a guy ahead of me. There's definitely a guy ahead of me. And they're like, nope, you're the first we've seen. So I thought maybe they made a mistake. But then when I got to the next aid station, like 4 miles later, they said the same thing. So I'm like,
Mm.
I don't know. I didn't know his name, so I don't know if he ended up finishing. I don't know if he just like stepped off to go to the bathroom and took a long time or whatever. And I don't know. But I never passed him, but he was gone. So from there, I ended up leading through Camp Ten Bear, which is almost the halfway point, and
Sure.
then
Yeah.
so I was leading until about 53 when the first woman passed me, who ended up winning overall.
Hmm.
And she looked great. I mean, I was starting to deteriorate a little at that point. I think I was around like 740 or so at the halfway, and I was still feeling good. But then
Hmm.
when she passed me a couple miles later, that kind of messed with me a little bit. I feel like I thought I was ahead by a lot. I mean, I wasn't getting reports on how ahead I was, but I hadn't seen another woman or anyone for a long time. So
Gotcha. And
I
that was
figured I had a good gap in the
Sarah
field.
Gage, I guess.
Yeah, and
Hmm.
I don't think she's from around here, so I didn't know her name. I didn't recognize her. I was like, oh, she's probably, some elite runner from somewhere else. It turns out it's her first 100-miler as well, so she absolutely crushed it. She
Oh,
looked so
wow.
strong when she passed me. I'm like, not a chance. I'm not staying with her. Yeah, so right after she passed me, I tripped and got the wind knocked out of me, and I was
Oh,
just like,
no.
I just laid on the ground, like, I think I'm gonna stay here. I got back
Oh.
up, and that was through the halfway. So I was feeling good
Hmm.
and then starting to deteriorate a little bit as it got hotter and everything.
Okay. When you say deteriorate, what is that specifically? What does that mean? Just feeling fatigued or feeling pain or what is it?
Yeah, I think it's a kind of a combination. Like
Hmm.
really, I think the main thing in the low points that I hit was like nausea.
Mm.
I felt like really, really like sick and nauseous. My legs were fine. I felt like I could run. It was just like my stomach hurt so bad and I felt like I had a fever and I was just, yeah, like dry heaving and everything and couldn't get in any nutrition. So I felt like
Oh, gotcha.
simultaneously super weak, but also like I couldn't keep anything down. So
Mm.
that was kind of where the low point stemmed from, I feel like. My legs felt great the whole day. So
Gotcha. And that was after 10 Bear the first time. Is that right? Going
yeah,
up
it
to
was
Polly's,
I
I
would say
guess.
the lowest point was like 53 through 65 or so.
Mm.
So all within the Camp 10 Bear loop.
Okay.
Okay, so
Gotcha.
so did you get past before that place where you have to run across the field or after?
Um,
You know what I mean?
oh,
You
the
come up
Oh,
to
the Sound of
a
Music.
farmhouse, and then there's like all these baked goods that the people have there, and then
Yeah,
you
I
take a
think I
right and you have to
got
run across the
through
field.
that. I got through that because every time I saw a pretty view, I felt like I was in a good mood. I was like, oh, this is so pretty. There were no times when I saw like a bunch of mountains and was like, oh, this is awful. Like I feel terrible. So I'm thinking I got through that before the nausea really kicked in.
Okay.
Mm.
Yeah, then you have to go down and after you go through that field, you have to take a left on that road, and then there's just a series of rolling hills before you get to Margaritaville, right? So,
Yeah. Oh, Margaritaville
Oh,
was so
that's
awful.
the
I
one.
just like I slogged through that aid station
Oh,
and the hill after it and the sun. That was the worst part of the race by far.
yeah. I forgot the name of that. I purposely put it out of my mind, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd
It's-
like to put it out of my mind too.
oh, yeah. And then yeah, then that brings you back down to 10 Bear, and that's 70, I think. Is that right?
Yeah, so what happened, I was feeling really bad a couple miles after Margaritaville and
Hmm.
this so as I was descending a hill, I mean by this point I was like walking, like there were 100K runners passing me who I had passed earlier. They were asking me if I was okay. I'm like just sick, like whatever. I was like, I'm gonna have to walk this last 40 miles. But anyways, this
Mm.
guy passes me on a bike and he said, they're waiting for you at Camp 10 Bear. And I'm like, wait, Camp 10 Bear? Like, I guess I had kind of made that location like
Oh.
stand out in my mind as kind of like the beginning of the end. It was like
Mm.
Camp 10 Bear Loop is the heart of the race. And once you get through that, it's like, all right, you're on the right track to the finish line. So I'm like, all right, I just have to make it. And then I'm in the home stretch. Like the home stretch is 30 miles, but I'm not going to think about that. And I'm just going to go. And then I saw my coworker who was also running. He was going out for his Camp 10 Bear Loop and I was coming back from mine. And he had said to me at the pre-race meeting the day before, like, we're going to see each other during the race and it's going to be at that point. And I saw him. I was so excited. And so that put me in a much better mood, just like seeing familiar faces at the aid station as well. And from there, I think I ran every step to the finish line. It was just like, I came
Mm.
out of that low point and was able, I mean, I didn't eat anything after 50 miles. I drank soda to the finish line, but I mean,
Mm.
it had enough carbs and calories to keep me going, I guess, but definitely need to rethink the nutrition plan. But
Gotcha.
yeah,
Huh.
overall felt great the last 30 miles.
Wow. So at that point, so it was still light for the most part, right? Through
Yeah,
all
I think
that.
I needed to
Yeah.
turn on my headlamp around like a little after Bill's at like mile
Hmm.
89. So I finished it like a little before 10 p.m. So I
Hmm.
really only needed my headlamp for about the last hour, maybe a little bit more.
Yeah, because that end part starts to get technical again too.
Yeah,
So
you're on
it's
the
not like,
trails, it's dark there.
yeah, yeah. Huh. Okay. And so at that point, after 10 Bear the second time, and you're starting to feel better, are you passing people then, or are you staying steady, or how does your placement go from there, would you say?
Yeah, so right before the end of 10 Bear, I mean, once I started running again, I passed the 100K runners back, who I had
Hmm.
passed, and I had passed and they had passed me.
Hmm.
And then two men or three men actually passed me from the 100 mile. And we ran together for a couple minutes and then they went on ahead.
Hmm.
And so when I came through 10 Bear the second time, I was in fifth. So three men and one woman ahead of me.
Hmm.
And then on that climb out of Camp 10 Bear, or like there's a flat section, then you go up a climb in the woods, and then you descend on some trails. And then another woman passed me there around like mile 70. She looked super strong as well. I stuck with her for a couple minutes, and then she just went on ahead. And I didn't see her until 100 meters from the finish line, which is the other thing that happened.
Yes.
But yeah, so I kept that placement after mile 70. I was in, I guess, yeah, seventh overall. So,
Okay. And
yeah.
what you're talking about is Justina Wilson,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and
So,
I didn't recognize her either. I'm like, I don't think she's from New England.
uh-huh.
I didn't recognize her, but yeah, she looked great when she passed me and ran a much smarter race than I did. So
And then
kudos to her as
at the
well.
end, you were catching up to her. Is that right?
Yeah, so I was running by myself for the last like 30 miles, other than passing the occasional 100K runner.
Hmm.
And yeah, I was a quarter mile from the finish line. I was running strong, but I wasn't, sprinting or anything. And I saw it was dark and everything. I saw two like headlamps ahead of me. Like I could literally see the finish line. I could see two headlamps ahead of me. And I realized it was her and her pacer. And I'm like, oh my
Hmm.
gosh, I haven't seen her for 4 hours. So I started absolutely sprinting. And
Hmm.
I passed her and her pacer noticed me and he's like, you have to go. And she started sprinting as well. And we crossed the finish line at like the same time. And in the results, it has her ahead of me and me in third, which I will take. I'll gladly take third.
Hmm.
At the award ceremony, though, Amy said they were going to call it an official tie because they don't have chip timing there and we crossed the line at the same time. So I don't know
Very
if I
good.
was second or third, but the results say third. So I'm
Sure,
perfectly
sure.
happy with that.
Yeah.
It was
Well,
a very cool finish, though.
it sounds like it. It sounds like,
Okay, I have an important question, Lila. How old's your mom?
I think she's 54,
Okay, so
something like that.
she's in her 50s. Okay, because Justina's old enough to be your mom. She's 48.
Wow.
So
That's amazing.
you were trying to nick a poor old 48-year-old woman at the line.
Excuse me, let's not call 48 old, please. Thank you.
48's puppies these days.
Thank you.
So yeah, that is really cool that so you and Justina finished right there, and then not too far, just like less than or just over 10 minutes behind you was Jenny Hoffman.
Yeah.
So
It was so cool. I didn't realize she was running. And
mhm.
after the race, she said, congratulations to me. And I hadn't seen her all day. I knew who she was. I mean,
Mhm.
I've listened to podcasts with her. Everything she's done is so cool. I was so like out of it. I was like, I'm like, what's your name? And she's like, oh, I'm Jenny. I'm like, you're the 24-hour lady. And she laughed. I felt really bad. I'm like, she's done so many other cool things. I don't want to just call her the 24-hour lady, but she's done, I mean, I think she's been on the 24-hour like world team before, in addition to like
Yes.
running across the country and
Yes.
She's the
everything. I was
Transcon
very
lady. That's
starstruck.
what you're supposed to call her, the Transcon record lady, I
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking, I don't know why 24 hours came to my mind first. That
The
was what I said. It was like 1 a.m. So
You had just sprinted at the end of a 100-miler. You're
I've
forgetting.
said you have no idea. You should ask Evil Becky sometime about the things that I've said to people at the end of races. It's just
No. The stuff you say 4 hours in are like,
think. You don't have to get to the end.
Oh no, well it's usually the end. The finish line is usually my top form usually. So wow, so that's great. Congratulations on that.
thank you.
That
Yeah,
is
it
just
was such a fun experience. I couldn't have asked for a better weekend overall. It's just
are you going to do another 100?
absolutely. Yeah.
mm.
Yeah. Can't wait for the next one.
Now, do you think there's anything? Because I mean, first time. Now, this was the longest that you had run.
Yeah.
So, was there any distance anxiety going into this, or not so much?
I think, yes, there definitely was. But also, I think realistically, I knew I could do the distance. I mean, I've done like
Yes.
so many, shorter ultras, like 100Ks, 12 hours and stuff, a lot of times like back to back weekends. I put in the miles. I knew like realistically, I'd done just as much as anyone to prepare. So it was really just a matter of getting my mind through it. But yeah, I think there's always a bit of distance anxiety, like running 100 miles, like we forget in like our small ultra running community, like how crazy that sounds to the average person. So
Yeah. It does. I mean, just the fact that I remember just at Notchview, we would say, "So what are you doing? Are you here for the 72?" No, I'm only here for the 100-miler. And
right.
and it is kind of yeah, it is kind of a strange place to be, to view the world from. So congratulations on that though. It is really it's great to see you get that kind of result there. And I really can't wait to see what's next. So I have to ask the question. What do you have anything like, I guess it's a two-part question. Number one is, do you have anything already on the calendar? And then are there other things or areas that are interesting you that you're interested in at this point?
Yeah. So I have a tentative race schedule through October.
Mhm.
After that, I'm gonna kind of just play it by ear. I don't know. I kind of forget what I've signed up for and what I've just thought about signing up for. I think the
Mm.
next race I'm hoping to do is also a Berks race, the like sweltering summer 8 hour.
Okay.
I think that would be fun to see how many miles I can do on basically a track in 8 hours.
Mm.
Then I'll probably do the Tark Summer Classic. So kind of like smaller races for August. I definitely want to go back to Vermont 50 in September. Very similar course to Vermont 100, and I ran it last year. It
Mhm.
was so fun. So I'm going to do that again probably. And then I guess the other big one, I'm hoping to do Ghost Train, the 100-miler.
Oh, okay. Good.
I'm like 30th on the wait list, I think. So I think that's as good as in. I know they generally clear the wait list.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, yeah, the 24-hour at the one day festival. Yeah, I would say like the two things that are like intriguing me the most right now are improving my 100-mile time, or like improving my time and also like doing bigger 100-milers. Like Vermont is great. Like it's a Grand Slam race. So doing
Mhm.
more of those. Like I'm going to
Mhm.
put my one measly ticket into the Western States lottery and see how that gets, where that gets me.
Yes.
And then the other thing is like the 24-hour like track slash fast races, like seeing how many miles I can do in a 24-hour period. So
Yes.
yeah, but I'll also keep doing, like 50Ks, 100Ks. Because while I still am young and have a little bit of speed, I want to capitalize on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you have any, are you coached at all? Are you, at this point,
No,
are you
I
coaching
write my
yourself?
own training, which I absolutely love. I love
Hmm.
like planning my own training. I don't really do that much planning. I kind of just play it by ear. But I've like tried to work with coaches in the past, but I kind of just prefer to do my own thing. And
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like a lot of coaches have told me like, I don't know, I don't run very smart. So I'd rather just run not smart on my own.
Nice. We're
That's right.
saving that quote. We're definitely saving that quote.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think, I mean, who can argue with that? I think that's like, you know,
I don't do
I
a lot of smart things, so I support that.
yeah. I mean, if we're gonna make stupid decisions, I want to be the one making them, right?
Right.
So that's that's really cool. So are you talking to other like to lots of other runners, like somebody like Jenny Hoffman or other mentors in the sport who are on
Um,
the elite level that can maybe give you guidance and things like that, or is that not really something you're that in or haven't been interested in so far?
yeah, I mean, I don't like really like personally know any like super high level like elite
Mhm.
runners. I follow the sport really closely. I love like
Mm.
podcasts. I love following live streams of the big races. Like following elite runners on social media, but I don't like really know any of them personally. I work at, like I mentioned, a running store, so I'm around runners all day and I talk about running all day when I'm there. So that's super fun.
Cool.
Yeah, and I definitely have like some mentors in the sport who aren't necessarily like elite runners, but still have a lot of wisdom to share.
Hmm.
But yeah, I'm always open to, meeting new people and yeah, I love the whole community of the sport and I love how it's growing. So it's very exciting.
Very good. Very good. Um, so have I don't know if we've talked about this before, but have you run road marathons at all or not? Not ever? Or
I
yeah.
have, yeah, I've done, I want to say 8 road marathons.
Okay.
For a
Hmm.
while, I kind of made that my focus. I
Mm.
had some like fairly good results. And then I ran Boston this year, just had a horrible day. And like the last few marathons, like leading up to that, had been like okay, but they had just been like, I didn't like the feeling. Like, I don't like the feeling of running so fast and like just like suffering for that like
Yeah.
moderate amount of time. Like I'd rather just be out there enjoying myself all day and doing a lot of miles than just like
Mm.
cramming so much pain into such a relatively short distance.
Yes.
So I decided after Boston I was retired from road marathons. So that was the end. I ran Boston, I checked it off my list, and that was the
Okay.
end.
Well,
That's
you're
Because I'm like,
21.
it's
It's
all been
time to
done
consider
before.
retirement,
Like,
right?
yeah.
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 It's high time at 21. I mean, you
Yes.
might as well
Yeah.
retire. I mean, you
Yeah,
know.
I was like, I don't know, maybe if I trained really hard, I could, get my PR down by 10 or 12 minutes or whatever. But like,
Mm.
I don't really want to. Like, there's already
Mm.
hundreds of people running 240 marathons, but there's not, that many people doing 100 milers and like, I don't know, like testing the limits of that. So I'd rather, try to break new ground in the sport rather than doing something that's already been done thousands of times.
Yeah, yeah. Huh. Interesting. Because, yeah, it starts, I think a lot of marathons start to turn into a discussion of my pace was this, my pace was that for this mile
Hmm.
and this mile and this mile and blah, blah, blah. And then it becomes more, I don't know, to me, it becomes more predictable in a sense. I mean, and you start
Hmm.
fighting over seconds, right?
Yeah.
And so it's almost like that last, you know, those last loops on that timed course, but condensed into, just, I don't know. It,
Yeah. And it's also like half the reason I love like doing what I do so much is the like community at the races and just the whole vibe at the races. And you don't
Hmm.
get a fraction of that at marathons. Like Boston
Sure.
Marathon, like I'm surrounded by tens of thousands of people. I didn't talk to one person and nobody talked to me and everyone was just in their own head. There was no like, I mean, there were plenty of spectators out there, but there was no support from other runners. And
Mm,
it just felt like everyone was so intense. Whereas,
mm.
I mean, ultras, I mean, you all know what it's like. Like it's so different.
Yes,
Everyone's friends, even if they've never met before, and so supportive. And yeah, it's hard to go back once you've experienced that.
it is. It is. It's definitely a different vibe. I mean, I have to say, probably at Boston more than others. I mean, I think the expo, I feel like that. The expo, I feel like it's just chaotic. It's a
Yeah.
bunch of prancing ponies and just like, I don't know, it's kind of difficult to, yeah, I don't know. It just seems like a lot of tension there, or maybe it's in my own head. But during the race, I don't know. A lot of times I do feel camaraderie with the people that I've run there with. And, I've shared bottles with, somebody will not be able to catch water off the table or something. And, I've shared half my glass, half the cup with other people and, stolen water from other people who were trying to drink it when I needed it. So I guess
Yeah.
that's all fair, right?
It definitely could have just been me. I was having such a bad day. I was in my own head. I wasn't focused
Okay.
on anyone else around me. So
Yeah.
I don't think I took full advantage of the event. But
Yeah.
also it just didn't compare to the ultras that I've done, I guess.
Gotcha. Yeah. No, there's no doubt, it's definitely a different vibe there. So, excellent. So, well, I think that, I don't know. I'm so excited to like, I feel like privileged to know you at such an early age because I feel like there's so much, it's so fun to watch you run because you
Yes.
like embody just what I think all of us in our mind aspire to be in a lot of ways, like just
Oh, thank
running
you.
and having a great attitude about it and and just getting it done. So it's a great I think I think anybody who's out there running and lots of times it helps to visualize yourself as a strong runner and as somebody who's running well. And I think anybody who has seen you pass them can certainly bring up that image and carry that forward to their own advantage. So I
Thank you.
think
I really appreciate that. That's so nice.
no problem. So Fred or Celeste, do you guys have other things to that you wanted to talk about?
Lots
No,
of
I
cool
just-
people finished Vermont.
Yeah,
Oh,
a lot of
yes.
cool people
Yeah.
Lots of
did.
our friends, like a ton of our friends. finished
Actually,
Vermont.
yeah, we should
Including, let me
probably.
just shout out while you're looking it up. John
Yeah.
Giesler, 66 years old, has done like 26 or 27 Vermonts now, and he finished. He did it in the golden hour. But so Lila had already gone to bed, gotten up in the morning, brushed her teeth. She's
Ate
all
3 meals.
yeah.
slept in the
Yeah.
car.
And
washed
Giesler
the
came
car.
rolling in. Yeah, Giesler came rolling like 9:15.
He was
all
amazing.
over to the side, his headband on. Yeah, he is amazing.
Yeah, so I got about 2 hours of sleep after the race, and then I woke up, heard cheering. I'm like, I gotta go back to the finish line. So I watched from about 24 to 30 hours, and I saw him finish. Like he fell over about 50 meters from the finish line, got back up, crossed it. So like it was so amazing. Like I'd never watched the golden hour of a race before, and it was
Mm,
so inspiring to see.
wow.
Well,
Well, that's
here's another trivia thing. Well, I think second to last finisher, the penultimate finisher, was one of our Patriot supporters, Will Hara, I believe, was in 29:30.
yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah,
Grinding.
he
He
was not
did solo
shooting his
too,
gear
didn't
during
he?
the race like he did at Mid-State Massive, but
Yeah, but he did solo too, didn't he?
now I gotta go look. But he might have.
I think he did.
I think
Well,
so.
well,
He
I
would.
did it solo,
I'll tell you.
I have to say, doing it solo is actually kind of nice. You don't feel like you have to give time to your crew. Like they're out there. In order to crew that race, if you're going to all the crew stations, you run more. I mean, you drive. You don't run. You drive more than 100 miles to see your runners, and the runners feel this obligation to stop for 5 or 10 minutes at every every time they're crewed because the crews are giving them so much. But really, it's a lot more efficient to just carry your stuff and go. So I completely agree with Lila on that point.
Yeah.
While Art's looking it up, I gotta say, I am excited to see like what Lila does in the future. Like it's gonna be fun to watch her continue down this path.
Mm.
Yeah, but Celeste, what if she turns out to be like an international criminal? You know,
Epic.
I guess that could happen.
you never know.
Could be a
You're young,
spy.
Lila.
I'm just
You got
saying.
a lot in front of you.
I'll be like,
You're
I knew
Dr.
her
Evil or
back
something.
then.
Right? Dr. Evil.
Yeah, we'll visit you in jail. Like, I'm good with that.
That's right.
Thanks.
Jeez.
Yeah,
So,
Will was solo. Yeah.
Oh, so yeah, speaking of Will solo, he's also quite the singer. So I bet he probably sang a solo if he didn't run
He
solo.
very well may have.
He probably did.
Yeah. So yeah, Jenny Hoffman came in right after you. We mentioned her. That's very cool.
She was solo as well.
On the Destroyer.
Yes.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Destroyer.
He got
Holy shit.
22nd overall with a 20:59.08, squeaking in under the elusive 21-hour barrier there.
Yep.
So he destroyed it. So congratulations to him.
Josh
KO did really well too. Peter KO.
Oh yeah,
Theo
yeah.
did. Caitlin Rossi,
Caitlin.
Josh Gaichin,
Christian Dockham.
Christian
Dockham.
did.
Yes.
Yeah,
He had a
kicked ass.
22:06.
Faith did well.
Yeah.
Who else?
Dan Larson, who is Jenny Hoffman's husband, and
Chris
biggest
Rosal knows
supporter,
all.
under 24.
Chris Rosal
Huh.
knows all, sees all, is all. He did it too, didn't he? Finish really well.
Looking.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. Russ Drescher.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
And who else? I'm just I apologize. I probably should have highlighted all of this, but I have it.
I looked the other day. We're lucky if I remember.
Yeah,
my
I
name.
did. Yeah. Chris knows all Rosal, got a 23:23.
Excellent.
Tyler Tulloch.
Oh yeah, Tyler kicked ass too.
Yep. 22-25.
Yeah. Kate, as you mentioned, Caitlin got a 24:18.
Yep.
Caitlin Rossi.
Eric Wester,
Oh yeah, Eric Wester. Yep.
27:30.
Yeah, he didn't west that much,
He's one of our babies.
right? He wasn't westing too much.
He was not westing. He was running. Yep.
The Slaters ran, Sarah and Scott Slater.
Oh yes, they did. Yep.
They came in at a nice 25:05.
Vinny and Kim, 28:27.
Okay. Oh, Christopher Martin. So, boy, he has a 5K named after him, right?
I was going to say.
He ran.
Oh, you know who else? Sherry Bilby. How do
Yeah.
How
We're
are we
getting
forgetting
there.
Sherry Bilby?
Bilby?
We're
Yes.
definitely getting there.
Oh yeah. Great
Um,
job, Sherry. Way to go.
Yeah, Chris Dowling. Yeah. So Ihor Stratton. So I think I ran the Eastern States 20 miler, the one that goes across New Hampshire, that road race. I think I ran with him, and I think somebody got injured and he stopped and helped them. So like somebody was having like a heart attack and he kind of stopped his race and took care of him. He didn't just run over the top of him like all us other road slugs.
Wow.
And there's Fred's cat.
The cat. This is the front of the cat,
Oh,
though. not the
sweetheart.
end.
Oh, today is
oh.
Mercury's birthday.
Cool.
Oh, very good. Oh,
Yeah, he's 7. He's my best friend.
very good. Laura Becker.
Oh, yes.
Laura Becker,
I'm
congratulations
so proud
to
of
her.
her.
I think
Do you
I
see the
think this-
picture of her with her baby?
I love pictures of her and her baby. So
No.
I have to run with her. I run with her on occasion on Fun Friday mornings at 6:00 in the morning. But now that I'm retired, I'm kind of like, yeah, 6:00 is like that might
You've
as
got
well
all
be.
day now, Art. Come on.
I know, like why wake up that early? So
Okay, I've been retired for 20 years and I never sleep past 4.
yeah, I'm going to work on that. So
You know what you should
Sam
do? You
Farnsworth,
should start running with Celeste and her idiots.
You should run with the idiots.
I
Yeah.
should.
Get out
I
there at
should.
like 5 a.m., get some air in your lungs.
Yeah.
Do you guys really run at 5 a.m.?
Yeah, I'm meeting them tomorrow at 5:30. We're going late. Yeah.
Yeah, see, I've retired from that. I did that for too many years, like waking up at 4:13 and meeting everybody at 5 o'clock and running
I can't sleep anyway. Might as well go have fun.
Yeah. There were a couple others.
Thea did it too. Good for her.
Oh, Jay Mitchell. He ran. So Jay was going to run it last year. And I was going to pace him, but then we went for a run in the mesh on a rather warm day. And it was like, I think we did 7 miles and I had like a vest with water and he maybe had a handheld, maybe not. And like, I basically like crapped out completely, cramped up and was dehydrated and he was pretty much fine. And then I was like, I don't know if I should be pacing you on this. I might be a liability here. So Melissa Arnold.
You were a liability if he said, yeah, that's okay, Art. You don't have to. Right? And he was like, oh, thank God I dodged that bullet.
Yeah.
Think of all the Desitin that you would have had all over you probably. And,
Yes. Our Iceland runner, Eli Barakian, he ran as well. So
So did Sean Malin.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Yep.
cool. Nice.
A lot of people on that list.
Vin from I can't say his last name. Vin.
Vin and Kim. I think
yes.
Left already said, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, Vin. I fucked up your last name. Welcome to the club.
Not you fucking up someone's name.
I know.
That never happens.
If Vin wants to become a Patreon, we can make it even worse.
We could work on this.
Then I could destroy your name.
Yeah.
I might actually feel guilty about it though, because like he's nice.
Yeah. Who else? We had couple others that I saw. I think we had some friends who didn't have the day that they wanted.
Yeah.
Is that you don't read DNFs on the show, right?
I don't think so.
Or do you? Or do
Maybe
you?
if
Some
it's
people
one
might
of
like
us,
that.
then we do.
Yeah, if it was you or me. No, if it were me, I would ask you to read it.
Our friend Kat, I think, was there. So Kat from TJM. So I was there. So I didn't hear all the details, but we'll have to find out the details.
I mean, and we've all had those days.
Yeah.
Yep. Sounds like the weather was pretty good though. Was the weather good, Lila?
Yeah, it was really low humidity, which was nice. It definitely got hot during the day. I think the high was like mid to high 80s.
Ugh.
And so it was warm. It didn't feel like Notchview at all, though. Like it cooled down at the end of the day. It felt great.
Notchview was gross.
That part where when you first start and then you go down the road and you take a left and then you like cut into the woods. The last time I did it, that part was soaking wet. Like your feet got wet going down that trail before you ever popped out onto the road and got to the first covered bridge. So how was that? Was that dry?
No mud. There was no mud at all on the course. There might have been like 1 or 2 puddles in the woods at some point, but I think my feet were dry the whole day, which was wonderful.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
One part of the course features a what I consider to be a very long downhill. And I'm trying to think. I think it's around mile 75-ish or something like that. Am I wrong with that, Fred? Maybe before that.
Spirit of 76 is kind of on up high.
Yeah.
So I think it's not that because between 10 Beer and Spirit of 76, it's like you're in the woods and you're following those pie plates and you feel like you're lost because you're like going up and you're going down and you're taking a left and you're taking a right and you're like, am I just going around in circles? And then you pop.
Yes.
You're at
where's the place where you're on a gravel road and you just go for like, it's got to be like a 3 mile.
After that.
It's got to be like a 2 mile downhill or something. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I can't say I remember. The whole day felt like either one long or up or one long down.
Yeah, I just remember feeling so upset that it was runnable, and just like I had no quads at that point. So
The last time I was there, it was a pouring thunderstorm for that part. So it was interesting. Yeah.
Jeez.
Um, but like there's so many iconic parts of that course, like coming over Sound of Music Hill, coming down, like down that long. I thought you were talking about that hill at first, down to Stage
Mhm.
Road, and then going up the Suicide Six ski area up over the top of that hill and everything. Like there's so many parts. Just me thinking, I haven't run that course in 9 years, so I can picture pretty much the whole course because it's so cool.
Mm.
So,
It was my dream course. I loved every second of it. I mean, yeah, couldn't have asked for a more beautiful
that's
course.
a great first 100, Lila. You really,
Yeah. And I mean, so
Yeah.
many hundreds or ultras in New England are like loops, like even stuff that's not as, short of a loop as Notchview. Like it's, oh, a 50K and it's 3 10-mile loops or whatever. So it was cool to
Mhm.
have different landmarks the whole day, other than that one like half-mile stretch at Camp Ten Bear that you run twice. Everything was new, which was awesome. Felt
yeah,
like you
and
were
you
really, getting somewhere.
that part even served you too because you got to see your friend while you were
Yeah,
a little
exactly.
part of the lollipop. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
Very good. Um, well, Lila, I just want to congratulate you on this. It's been a pleasure to, stay in touch and to see, see all the progression here. So, um, I don't know anything anything that you want to add before you go. Like, let me ask one thing. I have a question for you. So,
Okay.
did you feel was there something that you feel maybe you learned from this that you would do differently for the next race? Or, because a lot of times, I mean, the
Yeah.
first 100 miler is always got to be a learning experience. So what was your takeaway?
Yeah, I feel like there were probably a few.
Hmm.
Two of the big ones are like figuring out a nutrition plan a little bit more,
Hmm.
because I think nausea really slowed me down. And then also working on like cooling when it gets hot. Um,
Mm.
but then I think kind of like the main thing is realizing that like when you're in those really low moments and you feel like you just have to walk because there's no way you can run, like you can run and it's gonna be fine, even if it doesn't feel like it. And sometimes running actually feels better than like slogging, walking, and it feels better like physically and emotionally, like knowing that you're making more progress. Because I mean, I had been like walking until that biker passed me and he said, like, you're almost to Camp Ten Bear or whatever. And I was like, oh, I am like, I can start running now. Like, this is great. And I theoretically could have started picking up the pace a couple miles earlier and made up some time. I mean, I feel like I lost a ton of time on that really low section.
Mm.
So yeah, I think the main takeaway is like you can feel really awful, but that doesn't mean you have to, run super slow and like you can do more you think you're capable of, as like tacky as that
Okay.
sounds.
Yeah.
But
No,
yeah,
there.
a
Bingo.
lot of
Yeah.
lessons for sure.
And it's
Like, it
kind of a
hurts.
feedback loop too, right? Like if
Yeah,
you start feeling down, you get down, down, down. But you start like you lift yourself up and you're like, running feels good. Now I can go a little faster. Now I can get this done. Yeah.
exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah. It is amazing how, that's the whole mental part of the whole, of 100 miler is, thinking like it's always, when you start getting that momentum down, you feel like it's going to go there, and just to know that it hurts just as much to run sometimes as it does to walk, or to run fast hurts just as much to run slow in a lot of cases. So,
Absolutely.
so, um, awesome. So, well, thanks for coming on tonight, and I love to have you back again. You know, next time, and I'm sure there will be a next, the next exciting thing out there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you again for having me. And
Y-
yeah, I'm sure we'll catch up in another race soon.
Very
Awesome.
good.
Congratulations, Lila. That was
Yeah,
Thank you.
really
congratulations.
good.
Like
Thank you. Bye,
epic.
everyone.
Yeah. So, to all of our listeners out there, of course, if you've made it this far, seek professional help, and we will see you all in a mile.
Mile and a
Mile and a
half.
half.
All right.